Hello, my dear friend. I am so glad you've decided to take a few minutes for yourself today. Have you ever woken up in the morning, looked at your calendar or your mental to-do list, and felt a heavy weight on your chest before your feet even hit the floor? Maybe it's a commitment to help with a community event you don't really have the energy for. Or perhaps you've promised to run an errand for a neighbor that's going to take up your entire afternoon. You might find yourself thinking, how did I get so busy? I thought retirement or being over 60 was supposed to be the time when things slowed down. It's a common feeling, isn't it? We spent decades of our lives being the ones everyone could count on. We said yes to our bosses to build our careers, yes to our children to ensure they had every opportunity, and yes to our friends and family because we wanted to be helpful and loved. We became experts at taking care of everyone else's needs, often at the expense of our own peace and quiet. But here is the thing that many people don't tell you about reaching this beautiful stage of life. Your time is now your most precious currency, and you are the only one who gets to decide how to spend it. We often think of power as something physical or financial, but after 60, your greatest power is actually a very simple two-letter word. That word is no. Learning to say no isn't about being selfish, and it certainly isn't about being unkind. It's about reclaiming your life. It's about making sure that the energy you have left, which is a finite and beautiful resource, is spent on the things that truly bring you joy, fulfillment, and rest. In our conversation today, I want to walk you through why this little word is so transformative and share 5 practical ways you can start using it to reclaim your time and your happiness. We're going to talk about how to protect your schedule, how to handle those tricky social pressures, and how to finally put yourself at the top of your own priority list without feeling an ounce of guilt. Let's start with the first way to use this power, which is setting boundaries with family and friends regarding your unplanned time. Now, I know this is often the hardest place to start because these are the people we love the most. We want to be the good grandparent, the reliable sibling, or the helpful friend. But have you noticed that sometimes people assume that because you are retired or at home, your time is somehow less valuable than theirs? They might call you at the last minute and ask if you can watch the grandkids for the 3rd time this week, or they might drop by unannounced just when you were settling in for a quiet afternoon of reading or gardening. When we always say yes to these interruptions, we are essentially telling the world that our own plans and our own rest don't matter. The first step in reclaiming your time here is to stop feeling like you need a valid excuse to say no. Many of us feel that if we aren't at a doctor's appointment or out of town, we have to say yes. But I have plans with myself is a perfectly valid reason. You might decide that your Tuesday afternoons are strictly for your own hobbies or just for sitting on the porch and watching the birds. When a friend calls and asks you to go to a lunch that you don't really want to attend, you can simply say, "Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I've actually made other plans for that time." You don't have to explain that those plans involve a nap or a puzzle. By holding that space, you teach others to respect your time, and more importantly, you teach yourself that your personal peace is worth defending. It's about moving away from being available to being intentional. When you say no to the things that drain you, you are saying a giant, beautiful yes to the activities that actually recharge your soul. This leads us directly into the second way we can reclaim our time, which involves managing our commitments to community and volunteer work. For many of us, our identity has been tied to being a doer. We've sat on boards, organized bake sales, and led committees for years. When we hit 60 and beyond, the organizations we belong to often look to us even more because we have the experience and the free time. It feels good to be needed, doesn't it? It gives us a sense of purpose. However, there is a very fine line between serving out of joy and serving out of a sense of obligation that has become a burden. If you find yourself grumbling while you're preparing for a meeting, or if you feel a sense of dread when you see an email from a local organization, it's a sign that your yes has become a weight. Reclaiming your power here means auditing your commitments. Just because you've done something for 10 years doesn't mean you have to do it for 11. You're allowed to retire from volunteer roles just as you retired from your career. A helpful way to approach this is the season of life mindset. You can tell people, I have truly loved serving in this role, but I am currently in a season where I am focusing on my health and my personal projects, so I won't be able to continue this year. It's gracious, it's clear, and it leaves no room for them to try and talk you back into it. Remember, when you stay in a role out of guilt, you might be blocking someone younger or more energetic from stepping up and finding their own purpose in that spot. Saying no to a committee isn't just a gift to yourself, it's an opportunity for someone else. By clearing these should-dos off your calendar, you create the space to perhaps find a new way to contribute that feels fresh and exciting, rather than like another job you forgot to quit. As we begin to clear out these external obligations, we often run into a different kind of pressure, the pressure of social expectations and the politeness trap. This is where we say yes to events, parties, or gatherings simply because we don't want to seem rude or because we feel we ought to go. We worry about what people will think if we aren't there. But at this stage of life, we have earned the right to be selective. We no longer need to maintain a massive social circle to feel successful. Instead, we can focus on the depth of our relationships rather than the breadth of them. This means looking at your social calendar and asking yourself, does this gathering nourish me or will it leave me feeling exhausted? If the answer is exhaustion, that is your cue to use your power. Learning to say no to social invitations is an art form. It's about being kind, but firm. You might say, that sounds like a lovely event, and I'm so glad you invited me, but I'm keeping things very quiet this month, so I'm going to pass. Most people will respect that honesty. In fact, you might find that your friends are secretly jealous of your ability to set boundaries. When we stop attending things out of habit or fear of judgment, the events we do choose to attend become so much more meaningful. We show up with more energy, more presence, and more genuine joy because we actually want to be there. We are no longer checking our watches, wondering how much longer we have to stay to be polite. We are in control of our social energy, and that sense of control is a massive boost to our emotional well-being. It's about quality over quantity, and it's one of the most liberating shifts you can make. As we get more comfortable with these social boundaries, we start to realize that the people who truly care about us don't need us to be busy, they just want us to be happy and healthy, which naturally leads us into looking at how we manage our own internal pressures and the expectations we still hold over ourselves.
That realization that the people who truly love us just want us to be happy is a huge relief, isn't it? But it also brings us to the fourth way we can use the power of no, and this one is a bit more internal. It's about saying no to the unrealistic expectations we still place on ourselves. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Even though we've reached this wonderful age, many of us still have this little voice in our heads that says we should be doing more. We feel like our house should still be as spotless as it was when we were 30, or that we should be able to keep up the same pace in the garden that we did a decade ago. We say yes to projects and chores because we're afraid that if we stop, it means we're getting old. We push ourselves to finish a deep cleaning project in one day when our joints are screaming at us to take a break. Reclaiming your time here means learning to say no to your own inner critic. It's about practicing a beautiful kind of self-compassion. When you look at a pile of laundry or an overgrown flower bed and you feel that familiar, I should get that done right now, I want you to stop and ask yourself, who am I trying to impress? If the answer is anyone other than yourself, then you have permission to say no to that task for today. Maybe you decide that you'll only do one load of laundry instead of 3, or that the weeds in the garden can wait until tomorrow morning when it's cooler. By saying no to the pressure of perfection, you are reclaiming hours of your day for rest and reflection. You are acknowledging that your worth isn't tied to your productivity. This is a hard lesson for our generation to learn because we were raised to be busy bees, but there is so much dignity in choosing a slower pace. When you say no to an overambitious daily schedule, you're actually saying yes to your physical health and your longevity. You're giving your body the grace it needs to recover and your mind the space it needs to be still. It's about being a kind boss to yourself. This internal shift perfectly prepares us for the fifth and perhaps most life-changing way to use your power, saying no to toxic or draining relationships. This is a tough one, but it is so important after 60. We all have those people in our lives, maybe they're old friends or perhaps even distant relatives, who leave us feeling completely depleted every time we interact with them. Maybe they are constant complainers, or perhaps they always find a way to make the conversation about their own drama. For years, we might have tolerated these connections out of a sense of history or loyalty. We thought, well, I've known them for 40 years, I can't just stop calling. But as we get older, we realize that time is our most limited resource. Do you really want to spend 2 hours on the phone listening to someone who doesn't truly value your spirit? Using your power here means giving yourself permission to edit your social circle. You don't necessarily have to have a big, dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it's just about saying no to the phone calls or the no to the one-on-one coffee dates that leave you feeling heavy. You can choose to spend that time instead with people who lift you up, who make you laugh, and who listen as much as they talk. When you stop saying yes to the people who drain your battery, you'll be amazed at how much more energy you have for the people who actually spark joy in your life. It's about protecting your emotional peace. You are at a stage where you deserve to be surrounded by light and positivity. By saying no to the energy vampires, you are reclaiming the most intimate part of your time, your emotional energy. This isn't being cold, it's being wise. It's recognizing that at this age, you don't have to prove your kindness by letting others mistreat your time. Now, as we start to implement these different ways of saying no, something interesting happens to our sense of self. We begin to realize that our time isn't just something we fill up until the day is over. It's something we inhabit. When you reclaim your time from family pressure, from community guilt, from social obligation, from self-criticism, and from draining relationships, you are left with a vast, open space. For some of us, that space can feel a little intimidating at first. We might wonder, now that I've said no to all these things, what am I supposed to do with myself? This is where the magic happens. This is the moment where you get to rediscover the you that existed before all those roles and responsibilities took over. It's in this reclaimed time that you might find yourself picking up a paintbrush for the first time in years, or finally sitting down to write those stories from your childhood that you've always wanted to record. Maybe you just spend more time sitting in your favorite chair, watching the way the sunlight moves across the floor, and feeling a sense of profound gratitude. This is what it means to live intentionally. It's the difference between being a passenger in your life and being the driver. When you were younger, the world often chose your direction for you. Now, through the power of no, you are the one choosing the path. You are prioritizing your own well-being. And that is not only a gift to yourself, but also to those who love you. Because when you are rested, when you are happy, and when you are living a life that feels authentic, you are a much more wonderful person to be around. You bring a sense of calm and clarity to every room you enter, which is a far greater contribution than just being busy. As we look at how to sustain this new sense of freedom and move forward with confidence, we can start to see how these small changes lead to a much larger transformation in our overall quality of life.
This sense of transformation is truly where the beauty of this stage of life begins to shine. As you move forward, remember that reclaiming your time isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice of checking in with your heart.
When you start saying no to the things that don't serve you, you might notice a little bit of a guilt hangover at first. That's perfectly normal. We've been conditioned for decades to be the providers and the caretakers, but I want to reassure you that the more you practice this, the more natural it will feel. You'll start to see that the world doesn't fall apart when you step back. In fact, things often run just fine, and you are left with the energy to be truly present for the moments that actually matter. Instead of being the person who does everything for everyone, you become the person who brings a centered, peaceful presence to the people you choose to spend time with. Think about the legacy of peace you are creating. By showing your children and grandchildren that you value your own time and your own health, you are teaching them a vital life lesson. You are showing them that aging isn't about fading away or becoming a servant to others' needs. It's about stepping into a position of self-respect and wisdom. When you say no to a stressful commitment so you can take a quiet walk or enjoy a hobby, you are modeling what it looks like to live a balanced, dignified life. That is a far more powerful lesson than anything you could say. You are proving that life after 60 is not a slow decline, but a vibrant, intentional journey where you finally have the authority to say, "This is my time, and I'm going to use it to be happy." To wrap things up, let's just take a deep breath together and acknowledge how far you've come. You've spent a lifetime saying yes to the world, and you've done a wonderful job. But now, the most important yes is the one you say to yourself. By using your power to say no to the noise, the guilt, and the exhaustion, you are making room for the peace you have so richly earned. Remember, small changes make a big difference. You don't have to change everything overnight. Maybe today you just say no to one small thing, one phone call that's too long, or one chore that can wait until tomorrow. Notice how that feels. Notice the extra bit of space it creates in your day and the lightness it brings to your spirit. You deserve that lightness. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there something in your life right now that you know you need to say no to? Or perhaps you've already started reclaiming your time and you've noticed a change in your stress levels. Please share your experiences in the comments below. Your words might be the exact encouragement someone else needs to finally set their own boundaries. And if this message resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Here at Not Alone After 60, we are a community of people learning to live our best, most intentional lives, and we would be honored to have you as a permanent part of our family. Thank you so much for spending these moments with me. It is truly a joy to walk this path with you. Go out there today and be brave with your no, so that your yes can be full of heart and joy. Take care of yourself. Stay mindful of your own needs, and always remember, you have worked hard, you have given much, and now it is your turn to simply be. Here's to living your best, most powerful life at any age. I'll see you in the next video.